I believe we can all agree that there is no shortage of early access games as well as Souls-like games. With the recent success of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Jedi Fallen Order, and most recently Nioh 2, these games are not going away anytime soon. And for good reason. These games pride themselves on rewarding the player for skill and persistence in a variety of tough scenarios. All this brings us to today's game, Bloody Spell, an early access title that attempts to tackle the Souls formula in its own unique way. Does it succeed on what it offers so far, or is it worth supporting another title instead? So off the bat, I ran into an issue. I could not get my controller to work for the life of me, so just to give you a bit of background, I'm using an Xbox 360 controller for Windows. I've never had this issue with any other games before, including early access titles, so I just resorted to use the mouse and keyboard, which is not my preferred method for these kind of games, but it surprisingly worked well. And please note also that not really a lot of people seem to have the issue that I'm having, so it may just be something local, I don't know. So I started with the tutorial, which is where you get a first glimpse of the combat and just how fast it is. There's a lot of typical mechanics to expect, like the lock-on, the block, the dodging mechanics. You have your weak and strong attack buttons, but the speed of the combat is more like Nioh and features different combos like Devil May Cry, so it's very interesting in that regard. You can also unlock these too the more you use a particular weapon. But the biggest difference between this and other Souls games is there's literally no stamina bar, so it's more based on reflexes and momentum rather than just stamina management. So speaking of weapons, there's 4 types of weapons. There's swords, gauntlets, spear sticks, that's what they call it, and blade, which is basically giant sword. My favorite is the spear stick for the area of effect attacks. I also enjoyed blade, which is again the giant sword, for just how massive the sword is, and the damage output is ridiculous. There's also staff and halberd. I saw this in the weapons menu. There's none that exist right now from what I can tell, but they appear to be on the way, so we'll look out for that. So enough with the tutorial. I started with my campaign on normal difficulty. You wake up in a cell, which is very common for these kind of games, honestly. So you grab a weapon and you start taking out the enemies, which I saw a stick, so just beat them up with a stick. You can do this stealthily as well, which the game encourages you, and all the levels in the game encourage you to use stealth. The issue I have with stealth though is the bigger enemies cannot be executed, which is the stealth kill. I'm not sure why it's like this, because you would think like if you can stealth kill you would try to take out the biggest opponents, but apparently those you have to face head on, so it is what it is. Hopefully that's not a case later on. Maybe do something like 50% damage or 75, I don't know, just something that you can do. So the gameplay loop boils down to killing the enemy with a key in the area to unlock the gate to proceed to the next area. However, you sometimes don't need to get the key if you can find a secret route to get around the gate. Certain levels have this, and it is another way this game encourages exploration, and it also does this too with secret areas that contain treasures. So treasure chests are randomly placed in each area, containing money, health. Some treasures can only be unlocked beating this mini game that you see right here, which is a pretty interesting puzzle. Basically you got to clear the way and put the key in, so it's pretty cool. It works well enough and can be quite challenging at times. And just like any good Souls-like game, dying will also happen. It sends you back to the beginning of the level or right before a boss fight if you touch a lantern. So the game will reset the level with your path slightly changing. It basically randomizes the layout a little bit in the order that you see something. It's not too drastic, to be honest, but it's a nice feature and I hope that's expanded upon. So there is no traditional level up. Instead you find blood ambers that level up a specific skill, either active or passive. And for active skills you can equip 3 at a time. And these can range for something like, I'll give you a temporary attack boost, or to do like a powerful attack or something like that. And for your passive, it's what you would expect, you know, increase your health, increase your damage output, your defense, so on and so forth. And there's also some pretty unique passives as well, so it's pretty good what they have on offer. With the money you can find stores, or these pillar things that are stores, and you can buy ambers and equipment. Basically use the bloodstones that you find throughout the game, and that is your currency. When playing the game, game, one of the things I've realized is that there's a far more emphasis on platforming than other Souls games, but thankfully it actually works well because there's a dedicated jump button and also air dashing and a grapple hook. So it has a bit of a Dynasty Warriors 9 vibe to it, and I don't want to get killed for saying that or to say anything wrong, but you'll get what I mean as you play it. So boss fights are expected and they're okay. Some are very interesting and challenging, while others are just cheap and not fun to fight at all, especially in certain circumstances given your limited skills and equipment available at that time. The story is okay and the premise is alright. I mean, it's basically a brother trying to find his sister. The biggest issue with the story though is it suffers from bad translation. A lot of the lines are spoken, but some are just not translated at all, so it leads to some confusion on the story of what is actually being said, at least for us English audiences. There are also some strange inclusions that can be immersion breaking. There's powerful treasures that can be found, as well as treasures that make you turn female. The outfits they give you are just plain ridiculous. I mean, this is nuts. More cosmetics can also be bought as DLC, and I don't really like early access DLC. Honestly, I don't blame these guys for doing what they do. I blame Arc, because this is where this crap started, and now they set the precedence because of how successful that game is, and now all these early access titles believe they can do it as well. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just cosmetic, so I guess it's okay, but still, I mean, this game is still in early access. It's not like the game is released or anything. Thankfully, there's more than just the story mode. It features 4 extra modes to play around with. The first one we're going to discuss is the arena mode. It's basically one-on-one combat with the AI, basically all boss fights. It could be pretty fun with correctly timing your hits, as all the combat is. So it's enjoyable enough, I suppose, but very difficult. Next is a practice mode. So it's in Chinese and the instructions are not translated. You can use the minus and plus keys to select the enemy and press the enter button to place them. Not really much to say here. It's a nice little practice mode to try out against the different enemies, so it can be fun. Now, the Bloody Palace is basically a survival mode with waves and waves of enemies coming at you. I'm not going to get too deep into this because it's basically what you think it is, just waves of enemies and you trying to survive as long as you can. There's like 90 or 100 levels or something like that, so good luck. The last mode is called Bloody Hell mode. It's similar to story mode with 5 levels to go through to unlock stuffs, basically cosmetics. It's definitely great. It's a lot of fun. And these levels are very well designed, but it just has one fatal flaw of you having to start over back to square one if you quit. So there's no ending on level 3 or level 4 and then coming back to it. No, it's basically you have to get it done in one sitting, unfortunately. All these modes are definitely nice to have, but not necessary to the core experience. Overall, I want to see these modes to get more fleshed out, especially the Bloody Hell mode. Maybe like a procedural generation with the levels, or like, you know, like a true roguelike experience or something. There's also a multiplayer mode that I didn't mention, but I couldn't really get in contact or play with anyone, so I'm just gonna skip on that one. I mean, outside of the translation issues and errors, the polish is actually pretty good. I mean, the frame rate was stable. I didn't really run into any game-breaking bugs or performance issues. It's mainly just, like I said, the lack of translation on parts, which hopefully, and with the success of this game, you know, growing and growing, hopefully they can really iron that out and make this available for us English-speaking people. Overall, I would say this game definitely has some upside, especially with the combat. I had a lot of fun with that, and I'm curious to see where it's going to end up, if they're going to add more combos, the staff and the halberd, see if that's going to get thrown in there. I'm really curious to see how that is going to progress, because it's a lot of fun. So I would say the combat itself exceeded my expectations. I'm looking forward to where the story is going to progress, and hopefully we can see a little bit more on that front. And also maybe a little bit more with the Bloody Hell mode or something like that. Basically, I'm looking forward to the future of it, and I would say, yeah, it's worth supporting. Now, apologies for me being gone for a while. I did have strep throat, and I wasn't able to really talk or use my voice at all. It was pretty bad, but now I'm all fully set and recovered. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope to continue making videos for you guys that you guys like. And as always, this is Powerhouse signing off.